It's good to see everyone. Yeah, I'm gonna flip. I got to turn all the messages on. We have crazy news. Crazy news coming out of the White House. So I want to cover that chain of events. It was something that I don't think anyone would say is unexpected for the Trump administration, but it's still always very exciting. It's always exciting to see what people come up with next. There is always a next. There is always a something that comes after. Um, Super degen, I know. Yeah, this is the same Donald Trump that saw riots in Charlottesville. It's the same Donald Trump that was like, I can talk to David Duke, basically the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And what do I do here? No offense. This isn't Orange Man bad, but this is sort of a new low when you see the AI White House account using artificial intelligence. They give it to staffers. And then during Black History Month, they show you a picture of Michelle Obama and Barack Obama as chimps. Very, very weird, very strange. Um, I'm just gonna put a poll up. We got a poll up. But yeah, happy Friday. I don't have anything too exciting going on personally. Hey, what's up, Danielle? Daniel. I am sorry for misnaming you there, misnaming you. And so this is the craziest part about the Trump meme that I saw so far, is that there was a narrative and a story behind it. This is what I was kind of talking about before going live, is the whole point of recreating this Africa scene with US politics in the center of it was the whole point was to show that Donald Trump is the king of the jungle. He wants people to know that he's the top dog. Don gets to do what he wants while other people don't. And I hope people can see why it's not a story that you should let a president tell you. You shouldn't allow a person in power who has more authority than you do tell you how great they are. Yeah, and so that was really weird. To be honest, I was working. I was working, and it wasn't like I started pearl clutching when I saw whatever it was that the White House wanted us to see. But um, yeah, and so just more grifting from the White House. It's more grifting is what it is. I discovered this yesterday that it's actually the case. Truth Social has a really long history of these sort of presidential gaffes. So what Truth Social has been in its very short lifespan, used only by Donald Trump, is a place for Donald Trump to go and apparently say whatever's top of mind. So very cool. It's interesting for a president to open these transparent channels. I don't know how much, like, this is my sort of thought is, AOC can do a town hall. Cory Booker might do a town hall. Pete Buttigieg, whatever, he does like a local news interview or something. And it comes to be the case that he can just sit down and field questions. You're allowed to, as like an audience member or something, you can ask the question. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. And yeah, and this is so weird. What's so weird about this is, what's so weird is when we think of Trump and Truth Social and the actual White House account, Donald Trump hasn't used this as a way to connect to voters. He hasn't used it as a way to get closer to political issues. So when you think about closing a gap, maybe, from my view, what Donald Trump's done is he's just used Truth Social to threaten people. He's used Truth Social to basically say, well, look, the Democrats are people you can't do business with. It's not that you can't do business with them, but they're people that you don't want to work with. They're somehow worse. They're not people. They're less than people. They're not good faith political actors. And so I even had in my comments today someone who said, well, no, the Democrats hacked Trump's. Someone in the comments said this. They said the Democrats hacked Trump's Truth Social account, and posted this AI video. Right. So this is fake news. It's fake news, and this is wild. This is a whole new level. This is second tier, second level sort of delusionalness. When we actually look at the timeline of what Donald Trump has, of what happened with this sort of tweet. We have two responses. We have two responses from the Trump administration. The first one said, go away, go focus on something that's actually a news story. And the second one said, yeah, this was a staffer that got into the account and they shouldn't have posted that video. So we deleted it. Trump is a treasonous, blah, blah, puppet for Israel. Yeah, that's a very strong way to not support MAGA. That's a strong way to not support MAGA. Um, I think Trump's something different. Donald Trump, actually, if you, from my point of view, and I think Spartacus left, if you're still here, hello. But I think hello, Spartacus, if you're in chat still. So Donald Trump, I don't think he's an Israeli puppet. I think Donald Trump is a capitalist. Hey, what's going on, Risen? Good to see you again. Happy Friday to you too. And so I think Donald Trump is just a business guy, right? And what he used to do is he'd say, wow, these are some really risky business deals. I don't know if real estate's going to go up as fast as I need it to, as I'm spending money investing in these properties. I don't know what's going to happen. And so what he would do is, instead of saying, well, I'll take the risk and maybe I'll take smaller bites, maybe I'll buy smaller buildings, I'll look at different markets, I'll diversify what I do a little bit. He said, no, I'm gonna keep taking risks, big risks. I'm gonna go on the news, and when I go on the news, I'm just gonna talk about Trump brand. I'm gonna talk about Trump Tower. I'm gonna talk about Trump apartments. And so very annoying stuff, but what he's actually doing is he's trying to absorb some of the risk he's taking in real estate and give it over to the media. He's saying, I can spend $24 million on ads in Times Squares, or I can hire a PR agent for $500,000 and I can get more value out of it than I could in the billboards in Times Square. And so it's not that mysterious. Is in his own arm, Trump. Yeah. And so, that this sort of myth, this Ayn Rand myth of the self-propelled man, it's true, but that ultimately, okay, so from my perspective, that ultimately has to go back and land with market forces, right? You're not going to, if you sell ice to Eskimos or you sell a gallon of gas, whatever, you sell protractors or something, you're a bookworm. You're not suddenly magically going to, invent something or create something that didn't exist before. And so that's one of the crazy parts, too, is that I'm not saying, this is kind of like the Protestant ethic in, American political thought, is that, yeah, because there's so many good ways that you can serve people or work with people or whatever it is, you can go out and maybe you build buildings, you bulldoze things, you anti-bulldoze things, whatever it is. But these are good things. They're organized, they're ordered, they're using our brains and our bodies how we're supposed to. They fit with the geography. You can do the same thing in New York City or Philadelphia or Florida, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, right? Go get your fancy cup of cold brew coffee and do the same thing. This is one of the, and so with Donald Trump, when we see him going out and it's instead of billboards or whatever, instead of this stuff, he's telling people, I redid the whole New York high rise. I redid the skyline. You guys should thank me for this. A lot of people are like, well, we see what you did. We appreciate it, but this isn't the right thing. Hey, what's up, Logan Brokering? I wonder what Logan brokers. I'm always curious to learn more about things that were brokered and are brokered. Yeah. I'm sorry. ICE is violating a lot of civil liberties. But yeah, so I got derailed just a little bit, but I wasn't going anywhere that fast. I wasn't going anywhere. Yeah, and so the Trump's self-made man story is basically saying, okay, not only can I take your time and your attention, grateful for it, but I can tell you that you have to, as a Democrat, it looks like I can tell you how much you have to be thankful for me. You should spend more time, and just you knowing about the stuff I'm doing makes the stuff I'm doing more valuable, right? That's kind of branding and marketing. But in reality, Trump's basically always said, like, I can just take risk off the table. Watch how I do this. And so this is one of the crazy parts when we look at like trumpRX, or we look at the racist tweet that he posted. Yeah, when you lie to your voters, it is a political liability. I don't know how Trump sort of fixes that or whatever. Hey, what's up, Cam? Good to see you. God only blesses the piss that may rain down upon them. What about when Obama did it? Yeah, Obama said hope, right? So Obama's version of this was saying, look, okay, you can, as whatever you end up saying or doing, I'm just going to say the message we have is hope, and I'm going to talk about ending the Iraq and Afghanistan war. I'm going to talk about how I'm a Democrat, so I support sustainability, education, all this kind of stuff, and then you can figure out what you want to do with that. You come back and tell me, but we're talking about hope, ending wars, military spending, all this kind of stuff, the loss of American lives. This is all the stuff Obama did and talked about. And so and Barack Obama was a lawyer, community organizer. He was in the Senate before he was in the White House. Donald Trump was irrelevant. He was a very busy business person in the 1990s, not someone you needed to know about. In reality, there were probably 1,000 or 10,000 other people just like Donald Trump in the United States, just like really huge real estate developers that could have run for office. Whatever, like broker level people that you could kind of see the overlay of what's happening in the market, and then you could kind of build a system to get people through and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I don't see Obama as like giving you guys the risky stuff he's taking. I don't see him taking risks on your behalf that you didn't want him to. I do think Donald Trump does that, right? He's holding a foreign head of state hostage in New York City. That's still true. He's giving good reasons for other leaders in the world, people like Vladimir Putin, President Putin, President Xi in China. He's giving them very good reasons. Prime Minister Modi, very powerful guys, very powerful men. He's giving them really good reasons to come talk, say a few things right now. It's wild. Hey, I'm from Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. We've got someone from Turkey. Hi, good to see you. Yeah, I would love to go to Turkey. I know a couple guys on Discord from Turkey or who have Turkish heritage. I don't know. They were in some like geopolitics channels, stuff I was doing before. But the last time I'm just telling you that because the last time I saw Turkey was that Turkish drones are being shipped to Egypt, and Egypt is using Turkish drones to bomb Sudan, to bomb the rapid support forces. So there's this whole big conflict in that corner area of the globe, whatever it is, who knows? Very wild stuff. Derek, I saw Andrew Bustamante the other day. He was talking about how they released so many files for two reasons. One, maybe it's benevolent. Maybe 3.5 million files got released because they want people to talk about it. At the end of it all, they just say, hey, look, here's the rest of the documents you asked for. It's probably unlikely we're going to figure out why there wasn't a full investigation. So here, this is your consolation prize. You can have all the other documents that we didn't show you. You already know that these people that you were talking to, these aren't the best people in the world. Like you maybe didn't have reason to dislike them, but they're just rich people to you before. And so here, now you have evidence that they spent time with a convicted sex offender. But I tend to buy that narrative. Like the other side is, okay, you get this giant folder of documents, and the next thing that happens is, suddenly there's some like thin thread in there that you just didn't see before. No, most likely you spend that time looking for that thin thread, and so nothing really happens. Nothing really happens. Um, I think Keir Starmer, the fact like British has a vested interest in these files, Britain does. The fact Keir Starmer and Peter Mendelson was mentioned in the files, was an associate of Jeffrey Epstein's. And so who knows, maybe he didn't do anything wrong, but he's way too close to this guy. And so Britain kind of has a vested interest. Keir Starmer said Prince Andrew should fly to the US and testify. But, really specific stuff there. I don't know. Left and right wing are the same bird. Yeah, they're all birds that don't fly. It's the ritual stage. Horrible actors, bad actors, horrible actors. Yeah. Cheese crust. And that's why rappers were rapping about wanting to be him. Everyone was fighting to be Donald Trump. Cool. Cool. Yeah, it's cool. I think people with my problem with like the Trump rappers, I'm not going to be too negative here, but yeah, like Tom McDonald, Jelly Roll, talented people. They definitely have that like unique circumstance to have like a unique life story or whatever it is. Um, so that stuff's really like I appreciate that, but they didn't go and like as far as I know, they didn't like reinvent the blues. They didn't go and like they didn't go and study with jazz conductors. You don't have to do that, obviously you don't. You can make awesome, fun, good, cool music. you know you don't have to do a bunch of whatever to like put out a good track. But like Trump rappers are bad. Their their music is very one track, very one directional. And it's funny because when they try to do new things, for the most part it's like, yeah, people like listening to you, so this is just a criticism. But like, you can drop it, you can pick it up, you can move it left, you can move it right, but you got to really throw that stuff to get it out of what it is, which is just like very subpar music, average music. What about Nicki Minaj? Who knows? Nicki Minaj could have been on Broadway and all this other stuff. Everyone praised Trump until he became president. I didn't. I thought Trump lied to us. He did lie to us. He said the Epstein files were a Democratic hoax. I didn't know that much about Jeff Epstein prior to Trump's his second time getting elected. I thought it was really sad the first time he got elected. Americans can't even fix their own problems, and they're worrying about Gaza. Yeah, the JC, the Board of Peace, and everything. This is another case where Donald Trump seems to be projecting this image that what he's actually doing, what the world is actually like. He's projecting this image that the slow pace of politics, the boredom, was just inefficacy. Nobody knew how to do their job. And so when you're talking about career politicians, you're talking about people that didn't know how to do their job. They got there because they were good at talking to the camera. Donald Trump was better. But maybe that is the only thing that's actually true, and only true when you like Donald Trump, if you like what he says. And so with the Board of Peace, this is another one of those narratives where he's saying, let me frame this Gaza issue with no concern, apparently what looks like no concern for the people of Gaza, as well as seeing them as subject to the forces of geopolitical pressure now and in 20 years. And so the fact that Donald Trump invited Russia to participate could be a good thing. Like, there are many political scientists who would like to have a reasonable form of this sort of multilateral diplomacy. It's not based on ideology. Not everything has to go through the slow UN. Know what the UN does well, but all this other stuff too, right? Really technical stuff. It does get a little technical, so go do your own research. But when you're talking about Trump and Gaza, and Americans can't even fix their own problems and they're worrying about Gaza. Yeah, the Board of Peace is just another case where it's like a marketing campaign. He's saying that if the Republicans lose steam, we can always go back and talk about the Board of Peace again. That's really not how you should treat people in other countries or other places ever. It's just a nasty, rotten thing to do. Yeah, his approval, Keir Starmer's approval rating is very low. But they're also a parliamentary system, so who knows? Who knows? You see this guy step out and say, "Look, we'll take responsibility for putting, little Peter Mendelsohn in this role. We don't know who he is totally, but it doesn't look like he was hanging out with like nice people." So, yeah, that's ultimately what you get back then. You get back in parliamentary systems because you can have 13 different political parties who are actually viable, who either have policy suggestions or know how to vote. They know when they can push their own agendas, and when pushing their agenda means they are playing politics and going with one side or the other. Right? And so you kind of can do this thing and float down the best idea for society while you're doing it. But um, yeah, some parliamentary systems are more complex, more ethnic religious groups involved, more political priorities, more preferences for the political process. These are all like very formal words. Um, People contextualize and add normative value. They add their preference and bias to like institutions like courts or like security teams like police, right? All of these things, what they think of as like rule of law or what you're allowed to do in society. Um, like in a very nuanced way, people all have different ideas about this stuff. And so Keir Starmer, the UK is very close to the United States. Keir Starmer, whatever his name is. But yeah, I believe US is blackmailed and ran by Israel, everything from the media and politics. I hope not. Yeah, I hope not. It would be very odd. It would be an odd story because the US military is so large. And so to me, the intuitive way that would actually make sense, and I don't want to get into conspiracy garb, but it's like if you're in Israel and you're like, how do we take down the US beast? We have to compete with everyone, so how do we compete with this one? Um, and so the answer, what you would dedicate resources to is saying, well, if you can't, you'd have to have total command and control of this military because it's so large. And so the president does that. Apparently, yeah, 100% the president does that. You know, in reality, it's probably the case that if the president orders something, it goes through three or four people. Um, former people like Donald Rumsfeld or Colin Powell. These old guys, Leon Panetta. Um, so you would order something, and then they would say, okay, well, I talked to these people, and they think you're an idiot. Here's why. Here's why you're an idiot, or here's why your question doesn't make sense, and here's what does make sense about it. Mr. President, what do you want us to do, or whatever? Who knows? And so it's really unlikely, right? That conspiracy theory that the Israel controls Hollywood, controls Hollywood even. How? Right? How would Israel control Hollywood? What would that actually look like or do? Why? Who are these people that spent 40 years as sleeper agents and there's 100 of them and no one noticed? And then it's not Israel, right? Then it's not all of Israel. It's like, so in the worst case scenario, this still doesn't make sense, but whatever. Who knows? The files as well, they're a distraction and they restructure for the New World Order. That's Andrew Bustamante called this flooding in his most recent video. And yeah, so basically said that, yeah, we can just overload you with information. Hey, what's up, Dragon Falling? Good luck with what you're working on. Big K's ride. Blacks for Trump. Cool. Happy Black History Month to you. Yeah, I don't know if you're from South Africa and you like American politics, but good for you. Thanks. I didn't think of myself as that handsome Mr. or Mrs. Lopez, 7859, but thank you. I appreciate it. I think my beard is all over the place. I'm hunched. All kind of stuff wrong with me. Hey, Faraz. Happy Friday. LOL Bird 2398. He's ugly. Hello. No more YouTube people in America. Give back stolen land. I ain't doing that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Social media. Yeah, cool. Um, yeah, I don't, I've spent a year so far building this account, right? It's not like some like rise and grind mindset, but if you guys create content or you want to see more creators in the stuff that you guys are doing, the I could probably say a lot about it actually, but the one thing I'd say with the whole 1,000 of you guys who have subscribed, um, is yeah, build in the niche, right? That's one way to kind of get around that idea that like, oh, this is someone else's opportunity and I'm doing it instead. And what do I actually enjoy talking about? What do people get the most value or enjoyment out of? You know, so build into your niche, right? I still talk about philosophy, politics a lot in the shorts feed on lives. And so yeah, and just be willing to do hard stuff that some people, right? 3 people just left the stream because they didn't want to talk about YouTube. And so, who knows, whatever, right? I know there's people that like I show speed, like obviously the million subscriber YouTubers, they're working the entire time they're on stream, probably having some fun, but yeah, they are grinding, guys. And so if you're saying no more social media people in the United States doing new social media accounts, that's obviously unrealistic. But yeah, generally, I think you can be more moral, right? You can be ethical and just build in your niche. Build in your niche. Go talk to people you want to talk to. And yeah, whatever. Try to, if you can put on a fun stream, you can spend a little more time on shorts. Don't use a ton of AI in the beginning. It doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever. Karl Marx from the USA. Hey, what's up? What's up, Mr. Han? Good to see you. Is that a Chinese or Vietnamese name? One of the two. Oh my God. Is abortion murder? I'm pro-choice. Yeah, I'm in terms of policy, I'm pro-choice for sure. I hope that's okay to say. Yeah, I'm raised Catholic. I think it's in the garage. It's not out of disrespect, but I have my old kid's study Bible in the garage. I also probably have in Catholicism, when you're like 15 or 16, you get confirmed in the church. It's like your adult decision to be Catholic. So it's not murder. Yeah, I mean, if you're saying it's like some definition of murder that's objective, no, right? I don't think so. I don't think politically or socially abortion is murder. I would debate you about that, but that's not a productive way to have a conversation either, DJ. Like, I'm just saying, if you feel like it's murder, you're obviously allowed, go do that, right? So what Catholics used to go do is they would sit outside the abortion clinic, with the signs, with the pictures, and you'd usually have a nice old guy, a nice old lady who hated it, who had the sign that said abortion is murder. Then you'd also have younger people who also hated it. But how do I know, right? Some of those people knew more. They were like, yeah, I've been pregnant before, or I've known people that have been pregnant. So I've been through it. I've been through month 8 of pregnancy, and I've been through this with 3 kids, and this is why I think abortion is wrong. I think people mischaracterize pro-choice as like these scary rabid atheists or something who are like, like I'll listen to you. I'll talk to you about the Catholic argument of dignity, the Catholic argument about souls and lives. I'll listen to all that stuff, right? And I'll talk to you like that. But if you tell me abortion is murder, you're like treating me like I would say, oh, well, I have 3 kids, and the second one we didn't really need, so we could have cut them off. Son of cool, abortion is murder. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, if you guys don't want to have the conversation, so you can say abortion is murder, and that's just how that is. That's just how that goes. You engage in an action, you need to deal with the consequences. Yeah, that's a super practical, fair argument, right? That you're creating a problem for someone else. But then what about the person who, like, my obvious question is, what about the person who got pregnant? There's thousands of, right? There's one way people get pregnant, but there's thousands of ways people can, millions of ways. Every single one is different, right? When you conceive a child with another person, there's thousands of ways you could have arrived there. So who deals with those consequences, right? There's nothing actually protecting mom after that point. You know, we give mom all of these protections after she gets pregnant, but mom doesn't have any protections of the law, right? You want to criminalize her when she gets pregnant. For what reason? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. Go back in history and it used to be during like the what like critical theorists will call it a patriarchy, but yeah, it was just how cities worked, right? Husband would go to work instead of having a farm and 8 kids. Tough, right? I'm up here so I can say whatever I want. But the husband would come home, it's his bank account. It's, she wears the clothes he wants her to wear. So she has no money, no power, no control. And so when you think of abortion and the circumstances that having a mother's right to choose is about, and why we have conversations and don't say it's murder, why we say it's murder versus that woman is a murderer, And so like the far right radical streamers, fake Christians, in my view, extremists, they're the ones that are actually out saying, well, yeah, that mom is willfully choosing to commit murder. Let me see here. Abortion is absolutely murder or easily murder. It shouldn't be a fundamental right. I don't know what that is. If it's not a fundamental right, like, anyways, Roe versus Wade was, what was that, the 1970s? So I don't know if that's what you mean, that this is 200 years after our country was founded, but the United States was founded. We're having a conversation right now. Turn that R. What? Lord Catraz 000 or Lord Cat R's. I don't understand that comment. So you are anti-abortion, but you are pro deciding where babies go. That's really a dumb argument. That really doesn't make any sense to anyone else in chat. So you just said nothing. So all you said is that F the baby, and what about the mom went on a tangent about nothing. Yeah. So Joel wants me to be either a maternity doctor right now. What do you want me to be? Do you want me to be a person discussing something, debating, arguing something with you? You want me to be a politician? Do you want me to be a doctor? You want me to be the mom? Sounds like you guys want to be moms. The mother may be convinced a fetus is not a human being. Yeah, son of cool, you don't really get to ask that, right? I can't take a screwdriver and take your head apart and ask what you believe. Yeah. How, son of cool, how could I actually tell if you believed in the right God? How could I actually tell if you believed in the right version of the Constitution? Which United States is hiding inside your head? You may actually be convinced you believe something that's not true. That doesn't have anything to do with rights or the law. A type of plan B. Yeah. I think if you actually, again, this is Catholic dignity. This is what Catholic dignity is. So Christians, you're in good hands. And this is one of the ways I think about politics, even now that I'm a secular atheist, right? I choose to just be out in the world and talk about whatever I do. But Catholic dignity basically says you actually have to go sit next to, right? You get your teeth, you tuck them in, and you actually go sit yourself. You sit yourself down next to the problem you were supposed to care about, either because it was what is Christ-like, or it's because that's what the actual problem that you're trying to solve is. These are the least of us. These are society's most vulnerables. And so I don't think when you guys are saying, let's pry mom's idea of childhood, let's pry mom's conception of life out of her head, that's That's absolutely absurd, right? That's fascistic. That's like a terrorist, right? This is what, like, when you think of political extremism and they're saying the worst things that they typically say, that's fascistic. It's authoritarian. It's violent extremism. Abortion. And so now we've got two comments. I disagree with both those comments. Right. I'm not just going to be up here disagreeing all day. So if you guys have something else that I miss here, um, but yeah, I mean, you guys are telling me how should I think about abortion? How do I personally think about abortion? How do other people? And you're saying abortion is a form of birth control. Where did you? I don't know where anyone got that from. I don't know where anyone got that from, right? I don't take a daily multivitamin or aspirin because all of my stomach is on fire and I need it to stop, right? I go to the emergency room, and then if they tell me to, I go schedule follow-ups with many other doctors. And so that's what you can also do when you're pregnant, right? When you're pregnant, you can also go see a family doctor and then go to whatever follow-ups they order for you. I don't know. It's just something those idiots say, maybe something that PFT mentioned, that Trump Pmert, President Tmert mentioned this. I don't know. Y'all angry. FDJT? Okay. Yeah, if you guys understand trumpRX or anything, I don't get it. I don't get what's actually changing. He built a website and he's got coupons. Hey, what's up? We got J Money in the chat. Thank you. I'll have to wait. Marilyn's our managing moderator on this channel. She's our only managing moderator, so I have to wait for Marilyn to approve any. If I accept an award for being in a position of power, I'll have to accept that at some later date. Equitable. If you are protecting the right of, what are you talking about? What are you talking about changing or doing? Are you referencing something in the world or something different? It's just another grift. He put his name on GoodRx. Yeah. I respect the hustle and the grift, but not like that. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the worst form of capitalism, and whatever. Who knows? I think the worst part about trumpRX is, you put Dr. Oz in front of people, and instead of like making pop culture, versions where you're next to Whoopi Goldberg talking about this stuff, or Roseanne, whoever it is, the Selena Gomez and Sabrina Carpenter kind of version of this stuff. Dr. Oz does misinformation. He does some pseudoscience, basically saying that, well, these are big lies that you can go do. I don't know if that's what you guys are showing me. Who knows? Derek, what's Latin for Tyler Robinson? Question for Derek. Hey, what's up, Hassan? The very famous Hassan was on Don Lemon today, so I watched a little bit of that. That was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. That Hassan Piker fellow looking to get discovered, I think, when he's not live on Twitch. Depressed engineer. Son, if you don't value human life because you'd rather just... good point. The auto moderator blocked some of those words, but I generally agree with all those words you said, and I appreciate the free speech as well. It's very cool. Auto moderator just catches some of those words. It doesn't like them all the time. Does the Constitution not protect the innocent child? What if they're not entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Yeah, it's a weird question, right? Isn't it? If you're an innocent child, yeah. So the Constitution. So if you're making an argument about an experience, a human experience, right, and you're not being clear with what you're asking, DJ. So the Constitution allows the state to lock a person in a concrete cell and they can stare at the cell Maybe they have a TV. If they get in trouble, they don't have a TV anymore. They can sit there, they can read coloring books. So the Constitution allows that if you commit a crime, and not much else, right? That's what a minimal government is. So I honestly have no clue what your comment is about. Why don't you write on Substack? Hey, Joe Martin, good to see you. Yeah, I do have a Substack, guys. I used to write more often. It takes me it doesn't. I want to do more of it in the future. Maybe I can. Maybe I'll write more stuff. Try to get something out weekly or bi-weekly, whatever it is. Yeah, writing is so worth it, and I don't mean that as like an excuse or anything. It usually does take me a few hours to sit down, write, let it sit, and then come back and edit it. I can write pretty quick. I just don't do it, right? For me, it's all excuses. Because I'm not writing on Substack, all of this blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I just haven't in a while. If you guys want, though, you can subscribe to Ducks Y. My Substack is, I believe, linked on my main YouTube page if you like the blog articles. But yeah, maybe I can do something on trumpRX and talk a little bit about Donald Trump's sort of history doing market capitalism. Donald Trump's history as a businessman or something, just so we all have it. Thank you, Ronnie. That's a really mean thing to say, but I appreciate it. I don't know who the no one is that you're talking about, but whatever. People usually say mean things because they're like, I want you to fit me in this conversation. I want you to have more of me in this. It's like, okay, maybe you are my dad or you're better than me at this kind of stuff. Your ego and my ego are both just as big as each other's. Yeah. You got a couple cool guitar paintings in the background. Yeah, that's a ukulele. There is a guitar. There's Michael Jordan. Yeah. Yeah, and so you can always bring up the paintings and stuff like that, and hopefully that's what you figure out eventually. Hopefully when you guys are 50, you realize you can have your own little small space that looks just like this, and then you guys just get to stay there, right? That's your space. You're right. I'm going to zoom down a little bit. Hey, what's up, Kimberly Sweetman, son of cool? Son of cool. I'm a proud gay man for Trump. Cool. I'll show you this book I have right here. I got this for you guys, actually. Because of YouTube, I decided to buy it. It's called The Ethical Sleuth. And so it's by Janet Hardy and Easton. And yeah, it's very clearly written, very well written. It defines different terms like bisexuality, polyamory, different types of relationships. It is questions about the norms, our emotions. What are those emotions actually about? And yeah, it basically does everything except like a deep dive into physiology. But again, I'll show you one more time. This is called The Ethical Sleuth. And yeah, this is from Goodwill. Yeah, so anyone else, if you guys are doing YouTube or something, I'm not telling you to just go read on stream, but yeah, whatever. If you have a used bookstore in your country, in your city, you can always buy books that you think your audience is going to like, and you can read a little bit in your times off. Yeah. Yeah, when you're not working on content or whatever it is that you guys are doing, or just hanging out, being massive YouTube consumers. A fertilized egg is not a child, a human being or a child. Okay, cool. Yeah, people deciding things definitively. I mean, that's not really like that actually, but it is cool. Whatever. Son, if you can't comprehend words, you aren't worth talking to. Don't deny science. I think we have two people who believe the same things about science and phenomena as other people. So we can look at phenomena like, oh, this woman got pregnant and she had a baby. How did that happen, right? That's technically phenomena that mammals, humans reproduce through sexual reproduction, sexual dimorphism, I think it's called too, and different allele typologies and stuff, all of this kind of stuff, right? This is the physiology and the physical processes. But it's also phenomena to look at something like meiosis or mitosis and cell division. You can look at allele expression through a pregnancy or whatever, right? These are all like phenomena. Yeah. And so, but it's interesting, right? Because like a medical doctor telling you they're studying gene expression in your kidneys or your liver, they're obviously going to tell you, well, I'm a doctor and I study human medicine, so I'm looking at a human. But yeah, the fact that you can isolate a lot of this stuff, you can move it to a petri dish and saying, well, I'm studying this for it should, but if it's in a petri dish, that's not in a human, right? If it's a stem cell or something, it's not in a human. It's not what we normally think of as a human. I'm not saying it's a child. Yeah. I don't know what is wrong with people in 2026. Like, I really don't. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Calgooner? Good to see you. What up? What up? What up to you too? And my limiting abortion to health-based exceptions turns out from a right into a medical transaction, indirectly reinforcing healthcare capitalism over bodily autonomy. Okay. Yeah, whatever you say. It sounds like something no one would ever work on, but okay. Also, why are you so obsessed with fetus being human or not? You are most likely not a woman, and you're probably an incel, so it's just an issue for you. Wow. Somebody really hasn't been taking care of their brain. I think that's what the internet says, right? So if you say something that's basically completely based on your just not even an opinion, right? Because an opinion is researched, it's typically well informed. You're not just saying words, but you can usually define those words. You can point to where it's actually at in the world, and you can tell me what it's actually like. Or you can at least like get me in the room of that kind of stuff, right? You might say like, it is like a doctor is someone who is familiar with pregnancies. They're probably more familiar with pregnancies than I am, more familiar with pregnancies than you are. And so doctors have more educated opinions and could have a better conversation about that generally because they know more. I'm all about open borders. Don't speak for me, Rebel Duster, even though it's good to see you. And I love the abuse for some reason. I need it, I think, but it's good to see you. Yeah, attend a biology class. I didn't take biology in college. I took chemistry and physics. And I had 4 stats classes, 4 research and stats classes for social science, for political science. So I'm not a genius at that stuff, but I understand how it works. I like phil sci, and so I'm not an expert for sure. For sure. I got tagged, so I'm going to respond to this. That's how the channel works. DuxY, do you support fraud and money laundering as long as it benefits your party? Yeah, that's a great example of a gotcha question. There shouldn't be a single bureaucrat, elected official, or government employee who wants to see institutions that are less efficient. And there shouldn't be people that vote on institutions using inefficiency, right? So if we don't agree with something, fraud's not the answer, making it worse isn't the answer. You should always produce the best form of that thing because that's what gives people the ability to decide. And so I don't see the Democrats as really falling victim to the bigger problem, which Rebel Duster, you didn't describe in my opinion. On the other hand, I think, Donald Trump and his administrators, including Tom Homan, Kristi Noem especially, they're saying, well, without any information, we see massive civil rights abuses, not just massive civil rights abuses, but we're going to spend a disgusting amount of money making this ICE administration and DHS system that doesn't really operate like any law anywhere in the world. It's uniquely American, and it's uniquely against the Constitution too. So yeah, and so I would say, as a progressive Democrat, but someone who would really be able to holistically, and I mean this, look at the process as effectively as possible. I think, Rebel Duster, your question's a little disingenuous. And you'd have to not only get more specific, but you'd have to give it the right amount of time. So go deal with that, right? Go tell people that Duck just wants to let fraud sit for a while. Go have fun. Tell me what you get back from that, right? You can do your research, I'll do mine. Shadow, he has an actual point. Killing an innocent being is murder. Are you guys talking about crazy, I don't know, whatever? Who's that in my chat? Why do we get to choose when human lives become valid? I think because the law has to define it. Yeah, that's what Roe versus Wade said, is basically that, yeah. So once we accept this case, we have to define what viability is. So whatever they defined it at, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it was some point in time that you care about, right? That you, as a male in 2026, care about. Are you an actor? I can act a little bit. Do you want voice acting? Reindeers are better than people. Sven, don't you think it's true? Yeah, people will beat you and curse you and cheat you. Every one of them's bad, except you. But people smell better than reindeers. Sven, don't you think I'm right? Well, that's once again true for all except you. You got me. Let's call it a night. Good night. And don't let the frostbite bite. Bye. Yeah, that's the first thing I learned about acting was, I don't know. For a while, there was like a year where I'd watch television shows and be like, how is this guy doing what they're doing, right? How are they putting the scene together? So I'm not like, I'm not like a huge, I don't care that much about show business or something, right? This is just the internet. But yeah, am I an actor? Honest question. Yeah, no, obviously not. But it's cool when you find sort of what something is sort of like and you push it just to the edge. It's just one sort of very easy, quick way without dwelling on it and doing it for hours to be like, oh, well, I was a little wrong understanding what this actually is, right? The right way is probably I can go on a fasted run. I can think about it. Maybe I'll do some internet sleuthing or whatever it is, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, I just love politics. Do a Trump impression? I can't. Georgia. A Donald Trump impression. I think a Donald Trump impression, I don't know. How big is Donald Trump's brain? How accurate or precise he is on the things that the world is like. You either relate to those things in a way that a president does, or you figure out your own way and it works or it doesn't. So, are you guys presidents? Are you guys all presidents? Am I in a chat with world leaders? Is that what this is? You guys are all very important people. Okay, chat. Let's check on the poll here. Let me shine your shoes for you, mister. Did you see the racist Trump meme that he put out? Oh, I'm sorry, Duck's being so mean. I'm sorry. Let me make it funny, even though it's still mean. No, I do love you guys, really. Not in a social media way, just because I love people, but So 36% of you said that, yeah, the racist meme was disgusting. 39% said no. 25%, yeah, I laughed. Shame. Comments now. I want to know who laughed at that Trump meme that shows Michelle Obama and Barack as apes. As apes. Can you guys believe it? Crazy. Not a complete ban. What is love? Then I would love fetus. I did. Cool. Yeah, it wasn't funny. It's wild that that was put out by an AI video engine. Whatever. It's even more wild. It's really the most wild that that came from a presidential account. You know, it's hilarious. Right? I don't think someone who gets drunk and goes and does a bunch of racist stuff on the internet should like never work again, right? Like that's not a reason for you to be homeless, but like also if you're like a hiring manager, right? Or you ever want to manage a person in a business and you get drunk and do a bunch of racist stuff on the internet, like that isn't a-okay. That's not okay. you know? And it's just wild that, can you trust people to like rationally respond to that kind of stuff? I don't think so. Not really. Not really. I'm not being ignorant or rude. You just have the face for acting. I look really ugly. I got this whole beard. My teeth are falling out. My brain's peeling back. I'm becoming something else. I'm doing becoming. We're always becoming, just like Michelle Obama taught us. Michelle Obama wrote a whole book titled Becoming. That's pretty crazy, right? That must be an important idea to her. It's this idea of ontology, like becoming generally is this like idea of ontology and philosophy. And so from her perspective as someone who's been active in American politics this entire time, it's completely wild. I wish I had Michelle in my phone. I wish I had Barry O in my phone. I could talk to him every 3 months or something like that. Barry, we got to hit the links. Mr. Obama. Everybody else can get out of here, right? I just want Barack. I want Mr. President, a president, the president. Barack, I just want you. You look like you smoke. We got Nicki Minaj in chat, guys. Is that what that is? Linnell. Thank you. That's a very funny spam message. So thank you for just that. But maybe try to mix it up a little bit. Good to see you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind. It's very kind. The Industrial Revolution was before World War II also. Yeah. Yeah. The Industrial Revolution started back in the early 19th century. Truly. And it became that at that time that we also started to have the means to mass produce chemistry, right? So discoveries in different sciences all contributed to the Industrial Revolution. So very exciting time if you were at a college campus or a big city, or you were doing something in a business, in a society, you were in politics and wondering how competition was going to change. The Industrial Revolution gave you these small little nibbles, these small pieces parts that you would have to filter out. What was it that we were working on there? What are they doing? What are these guys doing? What is it? What is it? MAGA 10 squared. That's a hundo. I'm not MAGA, but it's a hundo. Did I accidentally out myself as a closet Trump supporter? What is 5 squared? It's 25, right? Is that right? 5 squared is 25 or something. So you're scared? Is that why you ran? Oh, crazy Kip, man. You got to go see the other Kip. You got to go see Dr. Kip Davis if you're looking at Trump 2828. I think he's a physicist. He's a scientist. Yeah, but you guys can go see the atheist tubers if you guys are wanting to do that kind of stuff. Do you guys want to raid over to one of my friends' channels? She's doing like a drama stream. I don't know if you guys want to, I'm happy to hang out a little bit longer, but I just think you guys are going to some of you guys will get more value out of seeing you guys can subscribe and come to a politics debate stream or like a Friday, like a nighttime hangout or something. But he's gonna cry. Are you worried about something? Yeah, but I'd appreciate, my friend's doing a drama stream right now. If you guys want to see the video I mentioned, the politics stuff, you guys can go to my shorts feed. But I'm gonna try this. I'd appreciate if you guys are going to be hanging out on live for a while. I'll go to chat and see if I get yelled at there. I get bullied a lot in this place. But I think I'm going to raid us over. And so if you guys want to, I'll see a couple of you guys over there. We're talking about person-on-person drama. We're talking about brutal person-on-person drama. Maryland sometimes goes there. We're going to go to the Raging Tomato, Maryland, some of us. So I'm going to shut the stream down. If you guys want to go say hi in chat, you can drop a duck emoji. That's what we're doing. And yeah. And if it sucks or whatever, just unsubscribe from my channel or catch me on the next one and we won't raid there again. All right, guys, have a good day.